What's good, y'all, and welcome to my review for episode 11 of the Thousand Year Blood War. And once again, a phenomenal episode, another banger episode, the start of everything but the raid. And of course, as you guys know, next week is going to be a 1 hour special and the end of the first core of the Blood War anime. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that 1 hour special next week. But this episode, in and of itself, man, was fantastic, man. A lot of cool shit in this episode, man, and yeah, Kumo finna blow all our minds with this little mini arc, everything but the rain, man. But yeah, without further ado, let's just jump right in. Also, but one other thing, guys, I want to say, sorry this review took so long to get out. I know it's kind of ironic considering last week I think it was either in my review or my reaction I mentioned like, oh, now that I'm back home, the reviews might come out a little quicker. When the exact opposite happened this week. But yeah, I had some other shit going on today, so that's why this review took so long for me to actually finally get started recording it and also upload it for you guys. So yeah, sorry about that. Hopefully next week will be a bit earlier. But yeah, anyway, guys, let's just jump right in. So we start the episode off with the #1 Subpacto creator. There's a little guy with Renji, and we get a little bit more of an update and kind of more of explained reason as he actually gives Renji like a legit reason why he ended up kicking out Ichigo out of the Soul Society and everything, and why he just refused to get his repair his Zanpakuto, as well as none of the Asuchi ended up picking him, saying that no matter what, no Soul Reaper ever awakens awakens with a Zanpakuto without first getting an Asuchi that he forged. Nobody, even Kenpachi, he gained his Zanpakuto from first gaining an Asuchi, and then of course through time and transfer his soul and his spiritual pressure and his energy into it, would eventually morph into a Zanpakuto. And that's happened with every Soul Reaper, except for, of course, Ichigo, which, as we saw at the start of the series, Ichigo already had a Zanpakuto. And once Renji, had him borrow some of her spiritual pressure, or gives him some of her spiritual pressure onto him. So, because of the fact that he already had a Zanpakuto at that point, this was never going to work with him, no matter what the case was. So instead, Ichigo has to find his soul before we can even begin to talk about him repairing his Zanpakuto. That's when we pick up where he is right in front of the Karakura his ball. Now, at first, I'm gonna be real, guys. Honest to God, when I saw Ichigo and it was already raining and everything, and he was at the Kurosaki like clinic and everything, a part of me thought that everything in the rain, like he would kick him out, but it's actually like some time travel thing where Ichigo sees everything unfold, and it's like in some like Back to the Future type thing, where it's time travel. Obviously, that wasn't that. It was just, Ichigo's dad explaining everything. But that's what I initially thought was going to happen with everything but the rain. That Ichigo actually like sees all of it unfold before his very eyes, like some weird time travel thing. But doesn't have the case. Either way, he gets home. His dad comes in there. He's like, "Oh, Ichigo!" And he's already gone. So we see him running away. We finally get to see the title card, which, oh my god, the title card for this week was fantastic, as they kind of like did the slow-mo with the raindrops, and they showed title of everything but the rain, and like the RA of rain was in the reflection of the raindrops, which I thought looked really, really cool. And then we go to this woman by the name of Ikumi. Now, I'm gonna be real, guys. I have no fucking idea who the hell this woman is. Like I've said time and time again in these blower reviews, you guys know I haven't finished up the entire anime. So this whole part of the episode, I'm like, I'm sorry, who the hell are you? Now, given her design and everything, and the fact that the way she talks to Ichigo, talking about him having a job and everything, I have a sneaking suspicion that Ichigo met this woman. She was introduced during the Fullbringer arc, just from the way he dresses and the fact that she says Ichigo was sorry he didn't come into work. So, I don't know, I could be wrong on that, and she was introduced before the Fullbringer arc, but I get the feeling, given the time skip and everything with the Fullbringer arc, that I assume that's when she was introduced. But, yeah, this entire part of the episode, I'm like, I'm sorry, who is this woman? I was looking kind of a little lost here. Either way, Ichigo's in the shower while she's like drying off his clothes, saying like, oh, you didn't show up. Him apologizing for not showing up to work, and him looking like it's the end of the world. And this line I thought was pretty funny, where she says, "What are you, some schoolgirl who had a fight with her parents?" Which I thought was pretty funny. After Ichigo eventually gets out of the shower, which we also, of course, get some more male fan service of getting to see Ichigo's ad, which I'm sure the fangirls were very happy to see once again. She throws like this hot dumpling, it looked like, or steam bum, whatever this food is, at Ichigo to tell her like, eat it, it'll warm you up. And then afterwards, once again, he apologizes for not showing up to work. She then does that like slam against the wall thing you see in like every romance anime from the cool anime protagonist or whoever the girl has a crush on that time, basically does that before she like headbutts Ichigo, telling him that he'd rather just show up to work rather than him listening to her apologies. And she's saying, ever since I hired you, I felt like a big sister to you. Kids, you can come to me with anything. Kids should learn to rely on adults. She hears a doorbell, checks it, and there's nobody there. Instead, we see Ichigo's dad in his Soul Reaper form. Now, the entire time we see this, Ikumi doesn't seem like he can see it. So either, like I said, I'm purely going off this, like, from what I can see in the episode. I have no idea if this woman is connected to the Soul Society or not, or if she is a human, or she's like Urahara, where she was like in the Soul Society but just chills in like in the world of living or whatever the case may be. I'm assuming she's just a human, but I could be wrong on that, given the fact that it doesn't look like she can see him. Or maybe, like I said, he was just that quick because he got in the door pretty quick without her noticing it, and then he's gone right as she turns around. So, like I said, either A, she can't see Soul Reapers and she's just a human, or B, he's just that quick. Whatever the case may be, Ichigo meets up with his dad meets up with him, and that's when Ichigo decides to leave his house and goes back outside to go back home. And then she notices at the towel that Ichigo left his soul badge. Which the color for it, unless it like changed colors sometime between when Ichigo first got it and or now, where it's now grayed out instead of its usual brown color. So it looks like it seems like it's been powered down. Now, granted, as we know at the beginning of the I feel like I'm overthinking this, just trying to decipher this woman's character just based off what I see in this episode, because I haven't seen where she was actually introduced into the anime properly. But we know no humans can see the soul badge except Tatsuki. Tatsuki can see it, and I still don't know what the hell's up with her. How she can see like Ichigo in a spiritual form and all that, but whatever. I'll figure that out once I get farther into the anime. But she sees the soul badge and tells her, "Hey Ichigo, you forgot something." But by that point, he is already long gone. It's like, all right, I'll give it to him tomorrow. And it looks like, I don't know if this is something weird with the lighting, but it looks like it kind of like almost reverts back to its traditional like brown color here. But that could just be the lighting and how it's lit or whatever. But whatever the case may be, we head back over to Ichigo's house where he then meets up again with his dad. And Ichigo asks him, due to the fact that they looked for him in his Soul Reaper form, that he already knows what happened to him. And Ichigo tells that he heard of what happened to Soul Society from Urahara and the fact that his Bankai was broken, and he assumes that you were kicked out. And Ichigo's surprised by this. He says, "I'm not really surprised to kick you out. At this point, there's no way for you to fix your Bankai because you don't know anything about yourself." Ichigo rushes over and grabs his Shinigami robes, where Ichigo tells him, "Remember what you said to me, that you could wait until I was ready to tell you, and then now's the time." And he says, "Ichigo, your mother was." And then we get, of course, they drag this reveal out as long as possible. We then back away from them. We have some wide shots, panning wide shots of the rain all over Katakura town. Slow-mo on the raindrops. We can see the individual ones before we finally cut back to Masaki running over to Ishin after both of them have some blood on them from the battle with the Hollow. That Ishin tells her that her name is Masaki Kurosaki, and that she is a Quincy. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Ichigo is in fact half Soul Reaper and half Quincy, with a touch of Hollow. So yeah, we finally learned that Ichigo is in fact Quincy. Of course, I've kind of already been privy to this information because of BBS. We've had a full Quincy form for him. Of course, we also, of course, had of course, Masaki was also 1,000 Blood War character. We see her with her bow and everything. So this wasn't that much of a shock to me because I play BBS, and of course, from watching handful of James's videos, I learned from there as well. But I can imagine for all the manga readers and of course anime owners who haven't been playing BBS, they were all shocked by this revelation that Ichigo was in fact part Quincy. And then, but also, before we continue, one thing I also found kind of interesting is that Misaki's maiden name is Masaki Kurosaki. When we see later on that Ishin's actual name is Ishin Shiba, which I find interesting because, correct me if I'm wrong, and I could just be misremembering stuff. Like I said, guys, I saw the original, the first parts of Bleach up into the Soul Society when Bleach was still on Netflix, back in 2016, 2017. So we're going off 5-year-old memory, so I could just be misremembering everything. But wasn't Ichigo's dad, Ishin, already going by the name Ishin Kurosaki at the start of the series, of course, along with Yuzu, Karin, and of course Ichigo? So it seems like this is sort of my theories going into this right now. Is that I'm assuming that once Ishin and Masaki first got married, he ended up taking her last name once they got married. That's at least my theory going into it, unless I'm completely wrong. And even at the start of the series, Ishin was always going by Ishin Shiba, and everyone else got Kurosaki, and it was more like a Miles Morales situation where they all, for some reason, he got his mom's name rather than Davis, like his dad's actual last name. But whatever the case may be on that, we then cut back over to the Soul Society where we see Rangiku looking for Ishin, and she finds him sitting in a tree. She kicks him, which causes him to fall down on his ass as he says, "Oh, you broke my tailbone." And first off, and we also of course see a good look of his face when they see this younger Ishin, which we've of course already saw this in the preview stills that got dropped a few days before the episode actually dropped. But I gotta say, guys, when we see young Ishin, you really get to see just how much Ichigo looks like him. Especially Ichigo now, if like at the end of the series, as well as in the Hell Arc 1 show where we see it's like, he chopped his hair and everything. They look almost like twins, just minus the hair color. You really get to see just how much Ichigo looks like Ishin once you see him when Ichigo, finally got the haircut at the end of the series. You really get to see just how similar those two actually look. And we find out that he is or not find out, but regardless, that we see he is a captain of Squad 10, and then we see one of the other members of this squad is my man Toshiro, which this is the first time I've seen this, and this is the first time I'm hearing of this. This is the first time I learned that Ishin was actually the original of the captain of Squad 10, and at that, when he was one member of Squad 10, Toshiro is one of his subordinates, and as you guys know, Toshiro is now the new captain of Squad 10. And I just think that's fucking awesome because you guys know Toshiro is like my second favorite character of Bleach, and Squad 10 was always my favorite squad of the series just because it was Toshiro's squad. But knowing that Ichigo's dad was the previous captain of it, that just makes it all more cool and just really solidifies that Squad 10 is my favorite squad, man. I don't know about y'all, but I just think that's fucking cool that the previous captain of Squad 10 before Toshiro was Ichigo's dad. I just think that's cool, man. I just think that's cool. And I love how actually when we get his title card, we see him, it says Squad 10, third seat at the time. I just thought that was funny. Either way, Toshiro tells that he finished with the reports, and then Ishin picks him up like he's a little child, because of course everyone teases about Toshiro about his height, how he looks like a kid, and everything's like, "Oh, that's so good, our soon-to-be captain," which pisses off Rangiku. She's like, "Oh, I should be next in line as a captain based on rank." I kind of find it kind of funny that even that this whole time Rangiku has just been the lieutenant of Squad 10 this entire time before Toshiro was captain, as well as after Toshiro became captain, she is still stuck as a lieutenant. I just find that kind of funny. And then Ishin tells like, "Oh, if you were captain, that would just ruin the squad." And Toshiro agrees with her. They start, and then she's like grabbing his face, stretching out his lips, and you can actually see Toshiro is doing the same to Rangiku, which I find kind of funny that we see Toshiro act like this, because Toshiro doesn't seem like always to seem like a no nonsense, by the books kind of guy. So it's kind of funny seeing his younger version kind of joining in on Rangiku's antics a little bit. And so he's like, "Oh, take it easy, you two." He then opens this compartment and then asks him, "Hey, does anyone know what happened to my manju there?" Which causes Toshiro to flinch. And he's like, "Hey, what happened to my manju?" And then Toshiro tries to change the stuff by bringing up this casualty report. And he's like, "Oh, whatever. I don't care about the report now. What happened to my manju? And that's when Toshiro then finally comes clean and says that he ate it and that it was delicious. And then of course this of course pissed off Ishi's like, you not only did you eat, but you also tried to change the subject right there. You are a naughty boy there, aren't you, Toshiro?" And once again, Toshiro tells him, "Do you remember the report about 2 months ago about a Soul Reaper dying in a mid-sized city called Naruki?" He's like, "Yeah, I remember about that report, and that the cause of death of the Soul Reaper was still unknown." So then they finally got last month's report. We find out 2 more Soul Reapers died also due to an accident. Which caused Ishin to run back over to the world of the living. Ugh, I can't speak today. To further investigate this, he goes by himself, and then Rangiku thinks that both her and Toshiro should join him, but Toshiro tells them that because of that they should stay here. That because the captain's going solo, he knows that this investigation will be dangerous, and all they would do is hold him back. So then we then cut over to this science facility that has purple light and everything. It very much comes like an EO villains laboratory as they're trying to create their concocted mad scientist experiments. Which honestly, this place reminded me a lot of Naraki's science lab he has in Hirawaka, which could have been the case. They both have purple lighting. We know Horikoshi Sensei is a huge fan of Bleach, so who knows? Maybe this was done on purpose as a little homage to Bleach, or just because purple lighting works good with villain laboratories. Either way, we see Aizen. He is then joined with King as well as Tosen, where it seems like they're trying what Aizen is trying to do is basically add the ability for Soul Reapers to holify, like Shinji as well as of course his crew. Which they even mentioned that Aizen is trying to track them down and trying to smoke them out. So it seems like what Aizen's trying to do is trying to make sure that they try to figure out how Shinji and his group are able to holify themselves, and Aizen's trying to apply that to the rest of the Soul Society and the other Soul Reapers. So, and it's also just kind of weird to see Aizen once again wearing the glasses and everything, and we see him in like full villain mode in the Blood War. It's also kind of weird to see because, when we saw Aizen at the beginning of the series, he was like, oh, a good old captain, you would not expect this man to be the master manipulator and the main villain of the entire series, man. Back then when he was rocking the glasses and everything, man. So anyway, we then cut back over to Karakura Town. We see these two Soul Reapers talking about that, that they heard about the last two guys dying in an accident when it was raining nights. And they're like, hey, don't talk about that. That's when Ishin shows up there and tells them that, and tells like, oh, I was just looking for the bathroom, but somehow I got lost. And they both know he's lying. And he tells like, hey, if it starts raining, you guys can leave. I want to be in peace, which I just thought was funny. We then cut over to Ishida's residence, and where we finally get our first introduction to Masaki. And I don't know about y'all, but when I look at Masaki, I can't be the only one that sees a lot of Orihime in this woman, which is funny because I could be misremembering this, but I remember I saw somewhere that a lot of dudes, and this works for women, vice versa for women as well, that a lot of dudes, when they look for like a wife or a girlfriend or just a partner in general, they typically gravitate to people that remind them of their moms. And from the looks of it, and throughout the rest of the episode, there's a lot of Orihime in Masaki, and vice versa for women. They when they look for a partner, they find that they gravitate towards dudes that remind them of their fathers. So I just find that kind of cool and interesting that about that with Bleach and how Masaki very much resembles not only just reminds me of Orihime, but Oki kind of looks like her too. Like they have very similar facial features. She's enjoying the steak dinner and also pretty delicious. And this woman by the name of Izumi, who Masaki calls her Aunt Izumi, and we later find out is Ryukin's mom, meaning she's Uryu's grandmother, asks how school's doing. Now, one other thing, just like Ikumi, I have no idea who this woman is, and this is the first time I'm seeing her. Now, this could be another case where this is maybe the first time she was introduced in the Bleach series, but I have a feel that she probably already had some screen time like beforehand by this point, or maybe this is the first time we got introduced to her. Either way, this is the first time I'm seeing this woman. She's like, oh man, she's like, oh, I go there every day. Izumi, and then she asks her about her Seiren, and she's like, oh, it's so. And then this angers her. She like slams her hand on the desk, stands up. What do you mean by so? Do you understand the situation you're in? And we find out that basically she is the last of the Kurosaki bloodline, and that the only reason she was taken in was because she was a fellow princess. This is when Ryukin comes in there and tells her to keep it down, that he can hear them outside. She begins to start leaving, but right before she leaves completely out of the room, Ryukin asks her where father is, and she tells him he is at the Fute Feld, if I'm pronouncing that right at all. I'm probably not. I am probably butchering it. Either way, she tells her that she would like to know where he is as well before she leaves. Ryukin then apologizes for her, telling her that she's taking her loneliness out on her, but Masaki doesn't anger by it at all, and then tells her while she leaves that the shrimp au gratin was great. And like I said, I'm probably mispronouncing this as well, and then this is when she leaves over to her room. This is when we get introduced to, I guess, the maid of the house, Kataguri, if I'm pronouncing that right, asking telling her that she knows that the only reason she was brought to the family was because she wanted to protect the Echte Quincy blood in the Ishida family, if I'm pronouncing that right. Once again, I've probably been butchering half the shit in this review, guys. So forgive me. Either way, and then she asks like, "Oh, is that what your mom told her?" And she's like, and he's like, "You really think she needs to be told that she's not that stupid?" And then Ryukin asks her, "Do you think she would be happy if he married her?" And then this I thought was pretty sick. I don't know if this has been like explored at all previously in the anime, or this is once again that we first see in this episode. But she says, "You think for a marriage between Quincy, there needs to be happiness involved." And then tells her, "You're so kind," as she looks very distraught and sad by this, looking down on her way, which, given her body language, and also I gotta say, who voices Karoguri? Because her Japanese voice sounds very familiar to me, but I cannot pinpoint what series she's from. If any of you guys know who her VA is, please tell me in the comments, because her voice sounds very familiar to me. I don't know if she was in in Kaguya-sama or something, but her voice sounded very familiar to me. But anyway, as I was saying, given her body language at this point, it comes off to me at least that a lot of Quincy marriages don't have happiness involved. It seems like it's more of an arranged sort of thing, where it's just like they just like throw two Quincy's together, be like, boom, you're married, and they have like no love for each other or anything like that. And it just seems like it's more like a business transaction than anything else. That's the way it comes out to me, where there isn't ever where Quincy's don't marry each other because they actually love each other or anything like that. That's at the very least how it comes off to me, at least for a majority of them. Ryu, and she says that your kindness will be more than enough to make Miss Masaki happy. And he's like, "Don't be silly. What's so kind about me? I only want to make Masaki happy because it's impossible to look in the future without happiness." And he's only doing this because he's looking towards the future of the Quincy's. We then head over back to Ishin as it starts to rain really hard, and he thinks that maybe that this hollow or whatever this creature that's been killing these Soul Reapers is maybe drawn into by spiritual pressure. So to bait it, he unleashes some of his spiritual pressure, but so far nothing comes out. But then we get this really cool slow-mo shot of one of the Soul Reapers getting sliced in half from like his face. It looked like, I gotta say, the storyboarding and as well as the cinematography in this episode was fantastic, especially in the post-credit scene, which we'll talk about that later on. But that post-credit scene looked amazing, bro. The cinematography in that was God. But anyway, we get the slow-mo shot of the Soul Reapers getting killed before Ishin notices just this huge like splash of blood on the floor, and then something lands behind him. We then see what it is, and it's a black hollow that looks suspiciously similar to Ichigo's Vastalorde form, as well as having colors very similar to Hollow Ichigo. Now, unless I'm wrong, it seems to me that this Hollow is in fact Hollow Ichigo, or at the very least whatever Hollow would become Hollow Ichigo. That's at the very least how it comes off to me. Of course, as Hollow charges towards Ishin, and of course they start duking out as we get over to Masaki as she senses the spiritual pressure between the two and runs out. This is when Ryukin stops her and tells her that Quincy can only go out after the Soul Reapers are dead, and that she needs to be more, and that she has to take better care of herself and be more careful, and that they shouldn't be ready to spill their blood so readily. And then once we cut back to Ishin and Hollow, and I'm just gonna call him Hollow Ichigo because that's what I'm assuming this is. This is Hollow Ichigo he's fighting, and then another Soul Reaper comes in there that says the Karakura Town is falling under Squad 30 jurisdiction. As then Hollow Ichigo just demolishes this Soul Reaper using that like attack Vastalorde Ichigo used against Okiura during their fight. The attack, or at the very least, a very similar looking attack. I don't know what the attack is actually called. I don't have the name of it or whatever. But yeah, the attack looked very similar. And then this is when we get back to Masaki telling her that Ryukin thinks about the future and many other things before he acts, and that's something she really admires to him. But to her, taking care of herself means doing what she can when she can. And if she falls custom and lets someone die today, she knows her future self will never forgive her. Sound familiar? It appears that Ichigo got his whole drive to protect people from his mother. That's at least how it comes off to me. And this is when she runs off, as then Ryukin pulls out this little, like, I don't know, device or whatever, and then tells Kataguri that they're heading out, as we head back over to Haru Ichigo and Ishin's fight. And Ishin comments how the thing fights like a Menos. He charges in there, and they clash their blades, as Ishin asks him who sent Haru Ichigo, as there's no way he wouldn't have been noticed by the Soul Society by this point. And of course, Haru Ichigo doesn't answer. He backs away and unleashes an attack called Burn Engetsu, if I'm pronouncing that right, which this is the first time I find out that Ishin's Zanpakuto is flame based, which I think is fucking cool. One, I just love flame abilities, and I love that both the two captains of Squad 10 both have elemental Zanpakutos, with Ishin being flame based while Toshiro was ice based. I just think that's kind of cool. Anyway, right as he's about to fire this attack off on Haru Ichigo, he is then slashed in the back by a Zanpakuto, where he realizes the person behind this is, of course, Aizen. So we know that Aizen's the one pulling the strings here, man, and he is the one that has sent out Haru Ichigo to kill all of these Soul Reapers. Ishin notices that the attack from the back was indeed from a Zanpakuto, and that there is a traitor pulling the strings. And this we get some voiceover from Aizen, where we find out that the name of this hollow is indeed White. So I feel this is basically confirmation that indeed this hollow is indeed Haru Ichigo, given it's called White. And if you play PBS, you know almost basically every form Haru Ichigo is known under. I don't know if this is just something from that's how Haru Ichigo is referred to in the Japanese, while the dubbing was changed to Haru Ichigo. But all of his characters always say White Ichigo on him. So yeah. Regardless, Ishin backs away and tells Haru Ichigo not to underestimate him, and calls him a piece of shit. Before then, he wipes some of his blood off his face, blows it into his Zanpakuto, and we get this huge flame attack that looked really fucking cool, man. This flame attack looked really fucking badass, man. We see this huge explosion, and we see that Masaki is able to see the fight, and we see that one of Haru Ichigo's arms just barely misses her. So, and Ishin commends Haru Ichigo that he's able to fight with one arm. And this is when Masaki fires off one of her arrows at Haru Ichigo, which he dodges, and then we get a shot of her with her Quincy bow, which I gotta say, I don't know about y'all, but that shot we get of her with her Quincy bow looks a lot like a render in BBS. I know, so just the way the form, just the way she stands, everything, it just reminded me a lot of her BBS render. This, of course, Ishin is wondering who the hell this woman is before Haru Ichigo charges towards her, as we see Tosen be like, "Whoa, this woman isn't part of the plan. I'll eliminate her." And then Aizen holds him back, be like, "Wait, hold up. I want to see where this is going." So she fires off a shit ton of arrows at Haru Ichigo. Haru Ichigo dodges them all. So this insane woman's like, all right, in that case, gets rid of her bow, leaving herself completely wide open to Haru Ichigo's attack, as Haru Ichigo takes a huge bite out of her, and then... Don't laugh though, bro. Masaki, yo, I know I've commented a lot how much she reminds me of Orihime, but bro, if there's one that differentiates these two women, is that Masaki is fucking savage, bro. Like, yo. This one grabs onto the grabs to the back of Haru Ichigo's head, and then has another one of her Quincy bows, fires, and then appear in her fingers, all right, and then fires point blank range an arrow right to Haru Ichigo's head that basically just completely one shots him, and then right as Haru Ichigo's about to self-destruct, Ishin comes in there and takes the brunt of the fort, bro. When I saw this, and y'all saw the season, the reaction, bro, I lost my shit. I'm like, God damn, Masaki, that woman is fucking savage, bro. Like, yo, this was probably the most shocking part of the episode, was just seeing that, yo, Masaki is actually low-key kind of savage, bro. Like, this woman, I think Masaki is not someone you don't want to underestimate, because clearly this woman... This woman's clearly got a savage side in her, bro, and we see what happened. We see that firsthand from Haru Ichigo, bro. Seriously, bro, that shit was insane. But also, what also is insane is that literally the entire reason why Ichigo is like half Soul Reaper, half Quincy, and of course a bit of Hollow powers in there, is literally all from Aizen. Aizen is the mastermind here, pulling all the strings of why Ichigo is as powerful as he is, bro. Like, this is insane. Are we sure at this point Aizen just hasn't become Kugo's self-insert character at this point, bro? With how much he's masterminding, pulling the strings and getting characters together and making Ichigo as powerful he is, bro? Because this is insane how Aizen is like the mastermind behind all of this shit, man. But regardless of such, she rushes over towards Ishin, and I can't be the only one that when I watch this interaction between Ishin and Masaki, I just saw Ichigo and Orihime, bro. I can't be the only one that was like this watching their little interaction. Anyway, Ishin thanks her for saving him, and then she tells him that she will heal him. Yeah, there's another Orihime comparison for y'all. She also has healing powers. So Ishin asks her who she is, and of course, Masaki is questioning whether or not she should tell him, given the fact she is a Quincy and he is a Soul Reaper. She eventually does tell her that she is Masaki Kurosaki and that she is in fact a Quincy. And Ishin tells her, "Oh, you're a Quincy. I've never seen a real one before. I feel lucky getting to meet a Quincy in person." And bro, I gotta say, first off, this whole section of the episode was extremely wholesome, but what really brought it together was the OST. The song played here, bro, was chef's kiss, man, perfect. I know you guys know I've been praising the Bleach OST, the Bleach Thousand Year Blood War OST throughout this and throughout all of my reviews throughout all of the episodes so far, but that continues on for here, man. This song that was playing here was absolutely amazing, man. And I love this scene, man. This shit was so wholesome. And like I said, watching this whole scene, all I could see was Ichigo and Orihime, man. Like, it's so wholesome. I loved it, man. And Masaki asks, like, who is this guy? And wonders if all Soul Reapers are like this. She hopes they are. Then she's sure that Ryusuke, Aunt Uzumi, and everyone else would. And that's when we cut back over to Ryukin, and we find out where exactly Uryu got his fashion sense from. Because, bro, we all know Uryu got drip when he has his Quincy outfits on. But, yo, Ryukin got it too, bro. Both Ryukin and Uryu both got drip, bro, when it comes to their Quincy outfits, man. Like, that's some drip right there, man. Is Ryusuke's outfit, man. And tells Kataguri that they're leaving and they're on a processing team because she is safe. We then head back over to Aizen's secret lab as Tosin is pissed off at what happened. That not only did Hollow surpass the target holification, but also reached the final metatastasized phase, and passed it on to Quincy. So given that, I'm assuming how this all happened, how Ichigo has hollow powers as well as being a Soul Reaper and a Quincy, is that once Hollow Ichigo bit her, some of his spiritual pressure or whatever the fuck transferred into Masaki, and then when of course Masaki gave birth to Ichigo and was pregnant with him, she passed it on to him, and that is why Ichigo has hollow powers. That's at least my current headcanon and my current reasoning on how Ichigo also has hollow powers. Aizen comes in there and says that's not true. And also Tosin said this was a massive failure. Aizen says it's not true. There are times when straying from the initial goal, the superior option, and instead continues on taking a hollow created from a dead Soul Reaper, decided to choose a Quincy, the polar opposite of himself. Don't you want to see what happens next? That is when we cut to the credits, but we then had a post-credits scene, which once again, like I said before earlier on the review, the cinematography here was godly, bro. Shout outs to the animators that worked on this part of the episode, bro, because oh my god, this gotta be one of the best looking and best shot sections of the entire Blood War anime so far. The cinematography here was godly, as we see Uryu in the ring, head down, and he's there with Hashwat. So, what could this mean? It appears Hashwat is trying to recruit Uryu into their ranks and have him betray Ichigo and join up with the rest of his Quincy brethren. We'll have to wait and see what that's about. I don't know if we'll get any more of this from the last two episodes. We're going to find out more about this in the second core of episodes. But this is obviously very, very intriguing on what's going to happen next with Uryu. Anyway, guys, that is where the episode ends. Fantastic episode. Absolutely phenomenal episode, man. So many great shit, man. It's only gonna get and I can tell, and I'm sure that it's only gonna get crazier from here once we get to the 1 hour special of the last two episodes of the Blood War anime and of course of Everything But the Rain. So yeah, I'm hyped. I'm excited. I can't wait to see how this ends, man. And yeah, I'm sure Cool Will's cooking up some crazy shit for us next week. But anyway, guys, that is the end of the review. Of course, my final verdict for this episode is a 10 out of fucking 10, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new. Follow me on my social media if you feel like it. Links down in the description box below. And as always, come out for more. See you guys next time. She's